coming off of your last book, Banking on Digital Growth. Where are we headed now?
So, this is the leader's guide to achieve exponential growth in the age of AI. And before we get too far ahead, I want to just unpack what exponential growth means, what I'm referring to. Exponential
Yep.
growth is when an individual, a team, or an organization perceives that they are growing personally and professionally at the same exact time. And that is because what impacts us personally is going to impact us professionally. What impacts us professionally is going to impact us personally.
Yes, I'm so glad you made it a point to explain that. And that is something that I have appreciated so much just in my journey
Mm.
since returning for tour number two, 4 years ago. I never really thought about how your personal and professional growth really are, can be so intertwined together. And I can honestly say that I've kind of lived this experience where, you know, what I am doing at home and what I'm doing here, the lessons I'm learning professionally, I'm applying those personally and vice versa. And it really is kind of a beautiful thing because a lot of times we feel like we're torn between the two. They're kind of working in, a little bit of a tension with each other, like push and pull, give and take. When if you can find that sweet spot to where you're kind of cruising along personally and professionally together.
Well, it's so true. And, if I think about where I was back in that 2012 time period, and I write about this in the book and I tell
Yeah.
this story, I was not in a good place. I was essentially kind of rock bottom emotionally, rock bottom relationally. And the irony of that is, I was in a great place financially, but none of that mattered. Especially when my wife is telling me, you've got to make a choice. It's the business or the family. And I realized at that moment that I needed some help. And so a lot of what I'm writing to in this book has been what I've learned, yes, but also the patterns that I have picked up coaching, guiding, leading, advising financial brand marketing, sales, and leaderships on their own journeys of growth.
Yeah, you do. You get really, really real
Yeah.
and pretty raw in the book, sharing your own. It took a lot of courage for you to share your story, your struggles, what you've been through. But I think that's part of what makes this book so compelling. It's really that the humanity behind it. And hey, I'm a real person, real struggles, real problems. Let me share them with you to help you on your journey of growth.
I think a lot of this is founded in the fact that of who I spend a lot of time with, and not spend, who I invest a lot of time with. I think about, because you mentioned the idea of courage, Dan Sullivan pops into my head, because one of the things that I've learned from him is courage doesn't mean that you're not afraid. Courage means to take action in the face of fear, number one, but courage also means that you're most likely going to have to walk forward in warm and wet pants.
Yeah, it's
And let me tell you,
not going to be comfortable.
I feel like I walk around in warm and wet pants more often than not. Um, but we're if I can take some of what I've learned and some of what I've seen, those more specifically, what I've seen, those that I have coached, guided, and have advised over the years, I've seen what they've been able to do. That's where exponential growth really starts to find leverage. I think about one specific team, one specific marketing team that was nothing more than just two people when they came and visited us back in 2014 to attend one of our workshops and to look at their personal and their professional growth over the last decade. My goodness, because now they're a
Beautiful.
team of six or so. Um, New team members have joined. It's the mindset
Yeah.
that they have established and have expanded and then are positively impacting other areas of the organization. It's like, what makes them different? Why are they in a good mood when everyone else is feeling a little bit frustrated and chaotic? And a lot of it is the fact that they have intentionally created space and time to master their mind while breaking free from the chaos and the complexity that tends to arise around that 90-day period, which is the whole point of what I talk about in the book with the 90-day growth method.
Yep. It is a commitment. It does take it does take a commitment, and that is what sets them apart. It is the mindset, and I know that's something that you talk about moving forward,
Yeah.
as things get more complex, specifically around AI technology. What is going to set people apart?
I think this idea of AI, it'll be interesting to get some feedback as people begin to read this. And the feedback has already been very positive from those who have had an early read. But AI creates an exponential multiplier of capability, but it's also going to require us to transform what we do, how we do, and why we do what we do. And the issue is we tend to, and a lot, I have to deal with this myself.
Hmm.
We tend to attach our value and our worth to what we do,
Yep.
but we are way bigger than what we do. And the
What
only
we
way to,
think.
it's what we think, it's what we feel, and really at the core, it's what we believe. It's what we believe to be true. And that is the essence of human transformation. There are really five steps here. And if you think about the struggles of quote unquote digital transformation over the last, we'll just say, decade, 60 to 85% of all digital transformation initiatives have either failed or failed to meet expectations. Not because of the technology or a flaw in the technology, it was because of a flaw in the operating system
Mhm.
of the individuals or the teams that were having to deploy that technology. It's the human factor. And a lot of the quote unquote change management has been around transforming what people are doing. Very practical example through the work that we see is like CRM, for example.
Yeah.
You say that word and you can see the negative emotional response from team members and leaders based upon past experiences around CRM. Well, instead of focusing on what people do, let's work in, because what people do, the five steps of human transformation here, what we do on a day in and day out basis, they're just habits. And I think what is very interesting to me is, as I shared and I have shared with teams some of the thinking in the book, 95% of what we do runs at a subconscious level.
Very true.
And so if what we do are habits, what are habits? They're the actions that we repeatedly take at a subconscious level. What inspires our actions? It's our feelings, it's our emotive state. What influences our feelings? It's our thoughts. What impacts our thoughts the most? It's our beliefs. And so when you're going through a period of exponential change and exponential transformation, we're going to have to create space and time to review all of those different elements as an individual, as a team, and as an organization.
Yeah, 100%. So in the beginning of the book, pretty early on, you open up and you kind of give us a little history lesson, just to kind of get that context of where we've seen these really pivotal moments of exponential change that have really transformed our culture and our humanity, which then helps us to really understand where we are today, but also just how fast things are happening. Um, so bring us back to that. What are these four pivotal moments that you set us up with in the beginning of the book?
Well, if we go back and look at time, and I think this is the interesting piece of the work that I get to do as a digital anthropologist that is has been is and will continue to study the intersection of marketing, sales, technology, and human behavior. We go back to these exponential periods of transformation. First, dawn of humanity. It's fire. Fire is this exponential fuel that leads to exponential growth because it led to exponential advances in what we're doing. It allowed us to uh, travel at night, provided light, it provided warmth, it provided protection, and that allowed us to build tools. And so we just saw an exponential growth and progress coming out of that period of time. Another point, if we're looking back in history, it was 1436. And you're like, well, what happened in 1436? One word: Gutenberg, printing
Yep.
press. And what the exponential gain that we saw there was it allowed and empowered individuals, people, to capture and share their thinking, their ideas at scale. And so
Communication.
it's communicate exactly. It was an exponential leap in communication. So we have to be mindful of how that played out, what we saw with the rise of the internet, what we saw with the rise of social media, now what we're seeing with the rise of even AI. Because if we go back to the printing press of 1436, the widespread knowledge that we were able to disseminate thought, how thought can then go on to transform what people believe, how thought can transform culture, how thought
Yeah.
can transform and elevate ideas, even because your thoughts combined with my thoughts, while they aren't the same exact thoughts, they could complement. Even if we don't agree, they can still complement one another. And out of our shared thought, we can then form a new thought that goes on to create something even bigger than what any one of us could have done alone. So then we flash forward, late 1800s. We have electrical power, and even preceding that, it was steam. But I think it was the
Yeah.
electrical evolution
Yeah.
that
I would agree.
really led to the transformation of economies. We saw the industrial revolution, and now companies have the ability to produce, to create, to operate around the clock. And so now you have this cultural impact there. And then finally, 1958, the invention of the microchip. We see exponential leaps in computing power. And from that point forward, it's
Took
it
off.
it truly is a whole new world. It's a brave new world. And now you have the internet, you have AI, and it's like it, the challenge here is exponential technologies continue to move at an exponential multiplying rate,
Yeah.
but our minds think linearly.